All right, all right, Shalom, Shalom, Israel. First and foremost, I want to give a call, hello, to Yahweh. Ba'ashima Mashiach Wamadak Yahushua. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, who the world calls God. And Yahweh Shah is the name of his only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. First, I want to give a strong shalom to all the mighty men that's going out there laboring, that's presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice, doing all they can to wake up the lost sheep of the house of Israel, enduring the elements, the freezing below weathers, and the 100-degree temperatures, and that's doing everything and that's trying to wake up the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Shalom. I want to give another strong shalom to all the mighty Aqua, right? The sisters that are at home, reverencing their husbands, and the unmarried sisters as well, being teachers of good things, being tender, delicate, and for the Most High, and on fire for the Most High as well. Last but not least, I want to give another strong shalom to all the mighty teenagers and children in this thing as well, doing all they can to make their calling and election short in the last days. All right, and I'm coming at you guys with another cold cut through the spirit. Salakia, for the lateness, we actually just wrapped up the Tuesday night call, and that thing got a little bit extended, right? But all praise to the Most High. Even if it went on longer than that, right? The Lord said in Proverbs 14:23, and all labor there is profit, right? Or there is profit in all labor, paraphrasing. So the topic of this cold cut is this is the Life of a Prophet series, right? The Life of a Prophet series. And through these series, we're going to do the best we can to put ourselves in the shoes of the prophets of old. Because everybody could read about the prophets. They could say, oh, wow, this is a man of God. You read the scriptures, you talk about the prophets. But who truly knows what it feels like to be in those prophet shoes? Everybody wants to be a prophet, a prophetess. But are you willing to go through the things that the prophets went through? Or are you just saying it? So through these series, we're touching on the different aspects and life of a prophet, right? In the world, they got that series, A Day in the Life in the Hood of so-and-so. Or you might have a celebrity, A Day in the Life of a Hood of Kendrick Lamar, or A Day in the Life of Floyd Mayweather. Right, this series will literally be a day in the life of a prophet, going through all the accounts of the prophets and going in depth to seeing what they actually went through. Because the life of a prophet is not easy. Again, the world, not only the world, but the men that read the Bible that have no understanding, yeah, they read about the prophets. They say, oh, these are holy men. These men receive visions. The Most High was dealing with them. Absolutely. But you know what? Do you know what the prophets actually went through? The life of a prophet is not easy, man. And again, going through the in-depth accounts of the life of a prophet, if you don't fit these descriptions, guess what? You're not a prophet, man. This is uncut. It's the plain and raw truth. If you do not fit these descriptions of a prophet or a prophetess, plain upon tables, you're not a prophet or a prophetess, man. It is what it is. So you want to examine these things and line these up ultimately with your life. Because again, these men, contrary to popular belief, these men live beautiful lives, man. It's an honor to go through what a prophet has went through. Now the world looks at it as what that's a bad life. Nobody wants to live like that. But again, when you examine the life that these men lived, that's beautiful to go through the things they went through. Paul said in Romans 9, I wish myself that I could be a curse for Christ. So Paul said, I want to go through the same things Yahweh Shai went through for my brethren, my kinsmen, and the flesh who are Israelites. So without further ado, we're going to hop straight into it, right? The life of a prophet. And you have to understand, first and foremost, all of the prophets are of Israel. That's Amos 2:14. Nevertheless, you have many prophets in the Bible. You have prophets that's not even mentioned. It just would say a man of God. So just because your name is not listed in the Bible, that doesn't mean you're a prophet. You have many prophets in the scriptures whose name is just not even mentioned. It is what that is. Does that disannul them from being a prophet? Absolutely no. They still went through the things necessary and ultimately drinking at a cup. Now let me get this in Second Esdras, right? It's the book of Second Esdras. Let's kick it off with the book of Second Esdras, chapter 1. Right, Second Esdras, chapter 1, and I want verse number 1. It's the book of Second Esdras, chapter 1, and verse number 1. And it reads, the second book of the prophet Esdras, the son of Sarias, the son of Azarias, the son of Hilkias, the son of Sademeas, the son of Sadok, the son of Aketibab, the son of Achaeus, the son of Phinehas, the son of Heli, the son of Amarias, the son of Azarias, the son of Moroth, the son of Arna, the son of Ozias, the son of Borith, the son of Abisi, the son of Phinehas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, of the tribe of Levi, which was captive in the land of the Medes, in the reign of Artaxerxes, king of Persia. So Esdras was a prophet, man. Although Esdras was a priest, he still was a prophet. Again, you have many prophets through the scriptures. Just because you're not in the Old Testament with your name listed like Ezekiel, Daniel, Jeremiah, that doesn't mean you're a prophet, man. You're a prophet ultimately when you go into the scripture, which we're going to touch on. And if you're prophesying, thus saith the Lord. Now, let me go to the book of Acts, right? Hey, David was a prophet. Let's go to the book of Acts. Now, you might say, well, hold on. David, he was a king of Israel. What do you mean? Let's go to it. This is the book of Acts, chapter 2, and verse number 29. Right? Acts chapter 2 and verse number 29. It says, men and brethren, let me freely speak unto you of the patriarch David, that he is both dead and buried, and his scepter is with us unto this day. Therefore, being a prophet, and knowing that God hath sworn his oath with an oath to him, that the fruit of his loins, according to the flesh, he will raise up Christ to sit on his throne. See that? So David was a prophet. All through the book of Psalms, you read about prophecies concerning Yahushua. Prophecies concerning the in-depth mysteries, the allegories, the riddles, the parables. So David was a prophet, man. You had Enoch the prophet. Right, let's go to that in Jude. Let's go to that in the book of Jude. It's the book of Jude, chapter 1, and verse number 14. It's the book of Jude, chapter 1, and verse number 14. It says, and Enoch also, the seventh of Adam, right, prophesied of these, saying, behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000s of his saints, to execute judgment upon all, and to convince all that are ungodly among them, all their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. So Enoch was a prophet, all the way going back and literally into the sons of God during the time of Genesis, where you had ultimately Methuselah, Enoch, going down into Noah. You have prophets amongst during that time. So what you're going to come to find out, it was prophets in the Garden of Eden. When you read Genesis, the 3rd chapter, if you got ears to hear, the prophets have been here since the world began. Let's get that in Luke chapter 1. Right? Luke chapter 1. You don't just read about the major and minor prophets and just think, oh, Jeremiah must have been the first to do it. No, you had prophets before Jeremiah, right? Jeremiah said in Jeremiah 28:9, the prophets that have been before me. Who was before Jeremiah? You had Micah the prophet. You go into the history. You had Enoch. You had David, Gad the seer, Nathan the prophet. These are all of the prophets that have been here ultimately since the foundation of the world. Let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 1. Right, let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 1, and verse number 68. It says, "Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people, and have raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began." So again, prophets been here since the world began. Ultimately, even going back during the time of the Garden of Eden, where it said the voice of the Lord was walking through the midst of the garden. Who is the voice of the Lord? The voice of the Lord are the prophets. So again, the prophets have been here since old, man. Don't think the concept of a prophet is newly created. Oh, that's just Old Testament. That's just the major prophets, the minor prophets. No, again, you have prophets whose names is not even listed in the Bible, but yet they're still a prophet. Yahweh, he was a prophet. That's Matthew chapter 21 and 11. So again, the prophet, ultimately, a surface level, a prophet is somebody that's prophesying, thus said the Lord, and it's going to come to pass. And that prophet is going to be known by what he said. But when we go in deeper of a life of a prophet, right, it's deeper mysteries and meanings to what actually goes on than what people only see. Because you might see a man of God, but do you know what he's really going through? Do you know what his life consists of? Are you really in his shoes? So let's go to that in Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter. Right? Deuteronomy chapter 18. This is the description of a true prophet. Because you have what? You have false prophets. Who are the false prophets? The men that's not saying, thus said the Lord. The men that's prophesying peace and safety. Anything that's contrary to the word of the Lord, it's a false prophet. Whatever that's not in his book, and the Most High has not showed you in a vision or a dream, and it's contrary to it, then you would not be a prophet. You would be a false prophet. So you have false prophets in the Bible. This is how you discern between a man that's a true prophet and a man that's a false prophet. Right, let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 18. Right, Ezekiel, chapter 18, and verse number 20. Ezekiel 18 and 20. "But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die." See that? So the prophet that's not speaking, thus said the Lord is going to kill that man. Read about that. Read about Hananiah, right? And Jeremiah, the 28th chapter. You had the prophet in Jeremiah, the 26th chapter, that didn't want to prophesy. He didn't want to do the work of the Lord. And the Lord killed them, man. It says, verse 21, "And if thou say in thy heart, how shall we know the word which the Lord have not spoken?" Right? Because you might say, well, how do we tell if a man is a true prophet or not? Just by his words that he speak? He's going to let you know, verse 22. "When a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord have not spoken, but the prophet has spoken presumptuously, thou shalt not be afraid of him." So you could tell a true prophet by the things that he says. If it comes to pass, then you're going to know that man was a prophet. That man was a man of God. Didn't they say that to Yahweh? Oh, this truly is the Son of God. They didn't believe it when Yahweh was prophesying on the earth. It had to take for him to die, for all of these things to come to pass, for the people to know that this man was a prophet. He was the Son of God. Everything he's saying was right. It was correct. Right? Let's go to Ezekiel 33 and 33. "But if the thing don't follow, and the Lord said, don't be afraid of him." And that's a lot of these pastors or these evangelists, these apostles that set up in his world. Ultimately, they will be false prophets. Let me get this precept in Ezekiel 33. Right? This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 33 and verse 33. It says, and when this cometh to pass, lo, it will come, then shall they know that a prophet had been among them. You think the people thought that Ezekiel was a prophet? No, they didn't believe he was a prophet. But when stuff started to come to pass, guess what? They said, surely this man was a prophet. So a prophet, the true definition of a prophet is a man or a woman, because a woman could be a prophet. It's called a prophetess in the Bible. That don't mean you go out as a woman, yes, a prophetess, and you start going on the highways and byways. Nevertheless, a prophet or a prophetess is what is known by what they say. And if it come to pass, then that thing is of the Lord. So a woman could be prophets, man. You had something called a prophetess, which women in the Bible, there were so-called female prophets, right? Judith was a prophet. A lot of people don't know that. Let's go to Judith chapter 16, right? Let's go to the book of Judith chapter 16 and verse number 17. Judith chapter 16 and verse number 17. It says, woe to the nations that rise up against my kindred. The Lord Almighty will take vengeance of them in the day of judgment, and putting fire and worms in their flesh, and they shall feel them and weep forever. So Judith, she prophesied of the vengeance of the Lord and the day of the Lord. That made what? That made Judith a prophetess. So a female could be a prophet, right? Got a lot of brothers. What do you, oh no, you're growing up. What do you mean a female could be a prophet? Well, brother, you have to explain what a prophetess is. Everybody's not a prophetess. Just like every man is not a prophet. Just because you go out there on the highways and byways and teach, that doesn't make you a true prophet. You have men, they fall out of the truth. They stop laboring. Women, they give up the faith. Again, a prophet is going to be known by what it says and if it comes to pass. So you had Judith. She was a prophetess. Let's go to the book of Judges. Let's get some quick precepts on that. Let's go to Judges chapter 4. Right, this is the book of Judges chapter 4 and verse number 4. It says, and Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, she judged Israel at that time. See that? So guess what? Deborah, she was a prophetess. When you read Acts 21, let's go to Acts 21 and 7. Right? Philip, his daughters were prophetess. So females, you have something called a prophetess. But again, everybody's not a prophet, man. It's the book of Acts chapter 21 and verse 7. I'm going to start at verse 8. Acts 21 and 8. And the next day, we that were of Paul's company departed and came unto Caesarea. And we entered into the house of Philip the evangelist, which was one of the 7, and abode with him. And the same man had 4 daughters, virgins, which did prophesy. So Philip's daughters was on fire. What were they doing? They were prophesying. Prophesying what? Thus said the Lord. And all of the prophets and the prophetesses, they're back on the earth. They're not done away with. Right? Let's go to 2nd Esdras 1 and 39. And that's just what's leading us into this series, The Life of a Prophet. Because again, the same prophets that you read about in the Bible, they're back on the earth. Don't you say, oh, Jeremiah, man. And they thought Christ was Jeremiah. Because what? They knew about regeneration. They knew that the prophets come back on the earth, man. So they even thought Yahweh Shah was Jeremiah the prophet. When you read Matthew 16 and 13. So everybody had that, for lack of better terms, that concept that the prophets will come back on the earth. Again, don't just read the Bible and say, well, the prophets, oh, that's the Old Testament. That's them. They're dead now. No, the Lord said, let's go to that in 2nd Esdras. The Lord said what? In 2nd Esdras 1 and 39, I will give you leaders right? It's 2nd Esdras 1:39. It says, unto whom I will give for leaders. So in the last days, the Most High said, I'm going to give you leaders. Who are the leaders? Let's read. It says, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Oseas, which is Hosea, Amos, and Micah. Joel, Obadiah, and Jonas. Nahum and Habakkuk. Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, and Malachi, which is called also an angel of the Lord. So guess what? These men are back on the earth, fulfilling their same duties, fulfilling their same lots. See that? So knowing that the prophets is back on the earth, that means what? The same life that they lived in the ancient world, they have to live that same life back on the earth. Now we don't know who these men is. We can't just point out men and say, oh yeah, you're Haggai the prophet. You're Micah the prophet. You're Nahum. We don't know. Only the Lord knows. But you're going to tell a prophet by the way he conducts himself, how he moves, the actions he bring in, how on fire a man is. Right? So these prophets, they're back on the earth, man. Now let's go to 1 Corinthians. Before we get into it, let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 14. Right? Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 14. 1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse number 32. 1 Corinthians 14 and 32. And the spirits of the prophets are subject to the prophets. See that? It's like it says the spirit of the prophets are subject to the prophets. Meaning what? These prophets, they had the same spirit and they fulfilled the same lot that they did in the ancient world. So when Daniel comes back on the earth, Daniel will always be a prophet. It's not like Daniel, he was a prophet back then. Now he's not. He's an ungodly man now. No, the spirit of the prophets is subject to the prophets. So when Jeremiah comes back on the earth, guess what? He will always be a prophet. When Obadiah comes back on the earth, he will always be a prophet. When David comes back on the earth, he will always be a prophet. When Isaiah comes back on the earth, he will always be a prophet. Esdras knew that he would come back on the earth. He will always be a prophet. Why? Because the spirit of the prophets is subject unto the prophets. And you have to stay in your lot. Right? That's what the angel, let's go to that in Daniel the 12th chapter. That's what Gabriel, or ultimately the angel, told Daniel. He said, stand in thy lot. So when Daniel comes back on the earth, Daniel has to play out the same lot he did in the ancient world. He probably receiving visions right now. He's on fire. He's teaching the people. He's doing all he can to magnify the name of the Lord. Why? Because he has to stand in his lot. Right? Let's go to the book of Daniel. Daniel chapter 12 and verse number 13. Daniel chapter 12 and verse 13. But go thou thy way to the end be, for thou shalt rest, and stand in thy lot at the end of the days. See that? So the angel told Daniel, you're going to stay in your lot in the end of days. So when all hell breaks loose in the last days, Daniel will have to stay in his lot as what? As being a prophet. Now again, because you have people just tuning in, right? Again, we going over the life of a prophet. And just because you read the prophets on the surface level, these were holy men. You're reading the prophecies that they prophesied. That's totally different from what the life they live. And that may be literal, man. You might see a man on the highways and byways. You thinking this man is flourishing. He's prospering. Everything is going good. But in his life, when you're actually in his shoes, behind closed doors, he's going through it. He's catching hell. It's not what it looks like on the outside. And that's the same way with these prophets, man. A lot of the times people they misuse that word prophet. The word prophet is not lightly to be taken. If you call yourself a prophet, you best better be living the things that the prophets went through. If you're not going through the things that the prophets went through, you're not a prophet, man. we're not gonna sugarcoat it in this video, man. If you're not going through the things that we're bringing out that the prophets went through, you cannot call yourself a prophet or a prophetess, man. That's thus said the Lord. Hey, I'm not a prophet, man. I'm just a servant of the Lord, an unprofitable servant that's doing what the Lord has commanded me to do. So again, when you examine the life of a prophet, hey, it's sad, man. It's not it's beautiful. It's an honor to go through what a prophet has went through. Again, the world is not thinking about that. The world thinks your life has to consist of the abundance of things that you have. How many good times have you had? Are you living your life? Are you living it up? When a prophets, their lives was what? Dedicated solely to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Umarak Yahushua. Right? So the first, again, we doing a series, The Life of a Prophet, right? And volume 1, before you step up to the plate of being a prophet, you have to drink of the cup, right? You have to drink of the cup, also known as the cup of the Lord, man. If you're not ready to drink of that cup, if you're not ready to enter into the life of a prophet, right? And you got to imagine this thing, man. You got to turn your imagination on. You got to use it. Esau says imagination is childish. No, to understand this Bible, you have to have an imagination. Because when you read Ezekiel, you have to envision yourself being in Ezekiel's shoes. Okay, he was at Babylon. He's seeing these different visions. He's linking up the prophecies. Hey, with this series, we just gonna say it. If you're not ready to turn your imagination on, don't even watch this series, man. Right? You could just click off the live, go do whatever you was doing. This video, ultimately these series, causes you to turn on your imagination. Right? So the first step, again, are you able, before you even enter into the life of a prophet, are you able to drink of that cup? Now you might say, well, what cup are you talking about? You talking about a cup in the fridge, right? With water in it and ice cubes? We're not talking about that cup, man. We talking about what? The cup of the Lord. Let's go to in Matthew, the 20th chapter. Right? And the cup of the Lord gets deep, man. Right? The cup of the Lord is deep. Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 20 and 20, the classic. Right? Matthew, chapter 20 and 20. It says, then came to him the mother of Zebedee's children with her sons, worshiping him and desiring a certain thing of him. Right? Talking about Yahushua. Verse 21, and he said unto her, what wilt thou? She said unto him, grant that these my two sons may sit, the one on thy right hand and the other on thy left in thy kingdom. Right? So the mother of the sons of Zebedee, she granted that her sons may ultimately, one sit on the right hand and the other sit on the left hand. Ultimately in the kingdom of heaven. It's what the Lord said. Verse 22. And Yahushua answered and said, ye know not what ye ask. Meaning, woman, do you even know what you're asking right now? Again, a lot of men, they want to go through what a prophet went through. Man, I want to be like Ezekiel. I want to be like Jeremiah. I want to be like Daniel. But brother, do you even, hey, you got certain men saying, I want to be like Yahushua. Right? They say it all the time. But do you know what you're saying right now? Do you know what you're asking? I want to go through the same things the Lord went through. Brother, are you speaking presumptuous? Because when you get in that position, you might not be built for that position. Everybody's not built for the life of Yahushua. Everybody's not built to go through the same things Yahushua went through. A lot of men will fold. A lot of men will give up, complain. Everybody's not fit or built to go through the life that Jeremiah went through or Habakkuk. So ultimately, what Yahushua is saying, you don't even know what you're asking. Because, I mean, it sounds good, sit on my right hand and my left hand in the kingdom. That sounds good, right? If a Howard Shot came up to you and said, "Would you like to sit on my right and left hand?" Hey, that sounds beautiful. People would say yes immediately. But do you know how to get there? Do you know, are you going to do what it takes to get the kingdom of heaven in the first place? Right? Everybody wants the end goals and the good things, but nobody wants to do what it takes to get to that level. Nobody wants to put in the work, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the crying, the affliction, the many days of fasting and smoking in your chest. So Yahweh Shah, he's really checking this woman. He said, hold on. Do you know what you're asking right now? Read on. Ye know not what ye ask. He said, hold on, you don't even know what you asking. Are ye able to drink of the cup that I shall drink of, and to be baptized with the baptism that I am baptized with? They said unto him, we are able. Hey, so these men, they say, we able to drink of that cup. And these series is ultimately touching on the different things that's in the cup. Now we gonna go over it surface level. What is the cup? What's in there? It's not Kool-Aid in that cup that he's talking about, or wine. It's ultimately sorrows, depression, affliction, persecution in that cup, sufferings, woe. There's so many things. Losing your job is in that cup, being hated. All of that is in that cup. The Lord said, ultimately, everything that Yahweh Shah went through in his life is in that cup. Getting thorns put on his head. And those thorns was inches. So when a lot of people, they talk about the crown of Yahweh Shah that he got on his head, a lot of them thorns was sticking out of his face, right? And it was weighing on his head. He couldn't even move. He was paralyzed in his face. He had to bear his cross. And the Lord's cross, when you go into it, it was over 200 pounds. So he got beat up. Then they try to have him carry a 200-pound cross. So again, everything that the Lord went through is in that cup, man. And guess what? They said we're able to drink of that. Not everybody's able to drink of the cup of the Lord. We're just gonna put it out there. It says what? But Yahweh Shah answered and said, well, I'm in verse 23. And he said unto them, ye shall indeed drink of my cup, and be baptized with the baptism I am baptized with. But to sit on my right hand and on my left is not mine to give, but it shall be given to them for whom it is prepared of my Father. So the Lord said to sit on my right hand and my left, that's not out of my power. It's only up to the Father. But yeah, you will drink of that cup. Because ultimately, Yahweh Shah, he knew who the sons of Zebedee were. He knew what James were, James and John. He knew who they were, right? He knew who Mark was. He knew who was Cephas, Peter. And he knew the lots that they would play out in the end. So the Lord knew that James is going to drink of that cup. Ultimately, you go into it, James ended up being a martyr for the Lord. So again, that's one of the first ways to put yourself into the life of a prophet. Are you able to drink of that cup? Let's go to the book of Psalms, right? Let's go to the book of Psalms. Touch it. Let's dive into it. Let's go to the book of Psalms, chapter 116. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 116, and verse number 12. Psalms 116 and verse 12. What shall I render unto the Lord for all of his benefits toward me? And that's a beautiful question. What can you do to make up from what the Lord has done for you? I mean, literally, the Lord has saved your life from death. The Lord could have killed you already. He could have killed you for your iniquities, your sins, right? The Lord didn't even have to have you wake up this morning. You shouldn't even be blinking right now, nor talking. The Lord gave you the ability to remember his name. So David saying, dang, oh man, the Lord is blessing me. I'm not even supposed to be walking or talking. How am I going to pay the Most High back? We're here to tell you there's nothing you could do to pay the Most High back. for all of your past iniquity. It's nothing you could do. It's in the past. You can't change what's in the past. The things that you have done, the pride that you had, the ungratefulness. It's nothing you could do to make up for what the Lord has done for you. But hey, ultimately, it is something you can do. We finna read that. Verse number 12 again. What shall I render unto the Lord for all of his benefits toward me? I would take the cup of salvation and call upon the name of the Lord. So David said, I'm going to take the cup of salvation. What is the cup of salvation? Ultimately, that same cup that Yahushua mentioned in Matthew chapter 20. That's the same cup that David is talking about. So David, he already knew about the cup of the Lord. He already knew what was inside that cup. The different sorrows, right? The affliction, the turmoils. He already knew about it. And that's why David, he got chased 3 days in the wilderness by King Saul. Imagine somebody trying to kill you for 3 days. You want to go. And it's not like it's just a weak man trying to kill you. Saul was an expert in war. Saul slew thousands of men, right? He was the king. So if Saul wanted to kill somebody, he has the ability and skill to do it. So David's want to run from that. You want to run from your life, right? David, ultimately, he knew about the cup of the Lord, and he knew what it took to get salvation. And everybody wants salvation, but nobody wants to do what it takes to receive salvation, right? Didn't the Lord say in Acts? Let's get that in Acts. Let's get that classic. Acts 14:22. Right, this is the book of Acts, chapter 14 and verse 22. It says, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue into the faith, and that we through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of God. The only way you're going to get the kingdom of heaven, you have to go through much tribulation. You have to go through much affliction. You have to go through hell, man. It's going to be a lot of days then when you're uncomfortable, right? You have to go through turmoil, demons being put on you, a lot of fighting. It's going to be a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, man. There's going to be a lot of crying at night, smoting on your chest, afflicting your soul. That's the only way you're going to get the kingdom. There's no other way you could get to the kingdom but by drinking at a cup of the Lord. Ultimately, there's no other way you could call yourself a prophet or be a prophet. That's you first step, you drink at a cup of the Lord. Let's go to 2nd Esdras, right? Let's go to 2nd Esdras, chapter 14. So again, don't just read the cup of the Lord and just sit there, man. The cup of the Lord gets deep, and every woman and man has to drink of that cup if they're in the truth. If you don't want to drink of that cup, guess what? You're not going to get the kingdom. You're not going to be in paradise. You're going to be sitting out. All right, let's go to 2nd Esdras, chapter 14. The drink of that cup, that's a must if you want the kingdom. That's a requirement, right? 2nd Esdras, chapter 14 and verse number 36. It reads, let no man therefore come unto me now, nor seek after me these 40 days. So I took the 5 men as he commanded me, and we went into the field and remained there. Talking about Esdras. Verse 38. And the next day, behold, a voice called me, saying, Esdras, open thy mouth and drink that I give thee to drink. And then opened I my mouth, and behold, he reached me a full cup, which was full. So Esdras, he had to drink of the cup, man. That cup is not little, man. It's not a little thing, whatever you think it is in there, of wine or oil. No, that cup is full. You gotta eat. You gotta drink the whole cup. You can't just drink a little bit of it. Nah, that don't taste good, and pour out the rest. You gotta drink the whole cup. That represents you taking everything and all the requirements on that it takes to be a prophet, to go through the things a prophet went through, ultimately to get salvation and the kingdom. Nevertheless, I'm gonna read 39 again. Then opened I my mouth, and behold, he reached me a full cup, which was full as it were with water, but the color of it was like fire. Now you might think, what the hell? The water is changing colors. That lets you know it's not literal. It's all symbolic, right? The fire going through the fire, the turmoil, the affliction. That water represents things being cool, right? And it's ultimately going into that just balance. It says, and this is literally, we're going to link it up, literally the same thing Ezekiel had to do, right? It says, verse 40, and I took it and drank, and when I had drunk it, my heart under understanding and wisdom grew in my breast. For my, it says, for my spirit strengthened my memory. See that? So in this cup, there's a lot of things in this cup. Don't think it's just affliction, sadness, sorrow in this cup. It's manifold things that's in this cup. And another description, or what's synonymous to drinking of the cup, is also synonymous with eating of the roll or eating the book up. That's synonymous with drinking of that cup. How are we gonna prove that? Let's go to Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter. Right? Let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3. Right? It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 3, and verse. Man, actually, I'm going to start at Ezekiel chapter 2. It's the book of Ezekiel chapter 2 and verse number 8. And it's crazy because the prophet seen the same exact thing. It's just all worded in a different way. But this Ezekiel chapter 2 and verse number 8. But thou, son of man, hear what I say unto thee. Be not thou rebellious like thy rebellious house. Open thy mouth and eat that I give thee. Again, it's synonymous with drinking of the cup. The Lord told Esdras, open thy mouth and drink. The Most High is telling Ezekiel, open thy mouth and eat. Now, is this a damn Danish, a pastry dish that the Most High is telling Ezekiel to eat? Right? You eat this Danish, this blueberry Danish. The Lord is not telling him to eat that, man. This is all parabolic. It's not a literal book as we read on. It says, verse 9, and when I looked, behold, an hand was sent unto me, and lo, a roll of a book was therein. Ultimately, this book is going into this word as we read on. We all gonna tie it together. It says, verse 10, and he spread it before me, and it was written within and without, and there was written lamentations, mourning, and woe. See that? So the Lord told Ezekiel, eat of this roll, eat of this book. Going into this word, the things that's written in there, the testimonies, the things you're going to have to go through that's prophesied. Ezekiel had to eat up the roll, man. He couldn't eat little pieces and bits of the roll. He had to eat the whole roll. That's a lot of brothers and sisters in the truth. You really don't want to come into this thing or really get into this thing. You're still scared. You might be scared you might die. You're scared about what people might think about you. You're scared about how your family might act towards you. Right? And the prophets, they didn't have no choice. They had to do what the Lord said. If they didn't do what the Most High said, they were going to get cut down. Because you're rebelling against the plans of the Lord that he has set up. Right? Verse Ezekiel 3 and 1. Moreover, he said unto me, son of man, eat that thou findest, eat this roll, and go speak to the house of Israel. So I opened my mouth, and he caused me to eat that roll. And he said unto me, Son of man, cause thy belly to eat, meaning thy mind. Your belly is your mind according to the Bible. And fill thy bowels with this roll that I give thee. Then did I eat it, and it was in my mouth honey as honey for sweetness. See that? This is the same thing that John the Revelator had to do. Right? Let's go to Revelation chapter 10. So eating of that book, eating of that roll, that's synonymous with drinking out of a cup that Edris had to drink of. Let's go to that in Revelation, the 10th chapter. Revelation chapter 10 and verse number 8. It's the book of Revelation chapter 10 and 8. And the voice which I heard from heaven spake unto me again, and said, Go and take the little book which is open in the hand of the angel which standeth upon the sea and upon the earth. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, Give me the little book. And he said unto me, Take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be sweet in thy mouth as honey. See that? The same thing that he told Ezekiel. You see how it's all linking up? And John was a prophet, believe it or not. What is he prophesying? Everything that he's seeing, he's writing it down on the Isle of Patmos. He's declaring and he's shutting up the book. Right? Verse 10. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. Now you might say, well, hold on. What does it mean by it was sweet in my mouth as honey and in my belly bitter? Again, what you're going to come to find out, that's not literal. That when it says it was sweet in my mouth and my honey, that represents the sweet things of the scriptures. Because when you come into the truth, it's not just all hell breaking loose. You first come in, that's the sweet moment. That's when you're just learning about who you are. You learning your nationality. It feels good. You ordering your apocrypha, right? You ordering your Bible. You telling people. You so excited. You telling everybody about the truth. You telling your mom, "Hey, we Israelites, mom." She don't want to hear it. You telling your grandma. You just excited. It feels good. It's sweet. You ordering your frankincense and myrrh. You burning it for the first time. You playing the instrumentals on the damn YouTube. You reading. You get into the spirit. All of that represents the sweet things. What are the sweet things? The word. The word is sweet like honey. Let's get that in Psalms. Right? Let's get that in Psalms chapter 118. Right? Let's get precepts on that sweet as honey. Let's go to Psalms chapter 119 and verse number 103. Psalms 118 and 103. How sweet are thy words unto my taste, yeah, sweeter than honey to my mouth. So David said the words of the Lord is sweeter than honey. That represents the good things of the Bible, man. The understanding. When you first get that breakdown, you happy, man. It's your first day going to camp. You can't wait because to go back to camp, man. You can't wait to labor for the Most High. You might be a sister. You preparing for the Shabbat. You getting everything together. You making sandwiches. You got your music going. It feels good. Your first time keeping the Pentecost, man. The Passover. All of that feels sweet. You read it. You getting the understanding. You reading more commandments that you need to keep. All of that represents the sweet part. That's when things is going good. Right? Let's go to Proverbs. Right? Let's go to Proverbs. I believe that's 25. Right? Get that. That might be Proverbs 24. God. This Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 13. Proverbs 24 and 13. My son, eat thou honey, because it is good, and the honeycomb, which is sweet to thy taste, right? So shall knowledge of wisdom be unto thy soul. So just like that honey is sweet, if any man, if any brother or sister had a honeycomb before, and you know how sweet that honeycomb is. Dang, it's sweet. You never tasted nothing as sweet as that. That's how this word is. Wisdom, knowledge, understanding. It's sweet. It tastes good. It's good for your soul. It says, so shall knowledge of wisdom be unto thy soul. And when thou hast found it, there shall be a reward, and thy expectation shall not be cut off. So again, this Bible is a all you could eat buffet, for lack of better terms. What consists in that all you can eat buffet? You have milk, you have bread, you have wine, you have honey, right? You have meat. All of that is in the Bible. It's in his book. Wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So when he's telling them to eat thy roll, and he ate up the roll, it was sweet. That represents the sweet things of the scriptures. Again, how everything is going good. The first time you made your trip to another city to preach the gospel. You with your brothers on the feast days. All of that is sweet, man. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 55 and 1. Right? The Lord said, ho, right? This Isaiah 55 and 1. Ho, every one that thirsteth, come ye to the waters, and he that have no money, come ye buy and eat. Yea, come buy wine and milk without money and without price. Because this truth doesn't require money. When it says buy, that means learn it. Learn this truth with no money. And what you have milk here, which represents the basics of the scriptures. You have meat, which represents the tough things of the scriptures. You have wine. You have milk. All of this is symbolic or parabolic for the word being food on a spiritual level. So all of that is in his Bible. It's up to you whether you want to eat. A lot of people, they don't want to eat. They want to starve. So again, that honey represents the sweet things and it's truth, right? Now, when we go back to that, let's go back to that in John chapter 10. This John chapter 10 and 10. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up. And it was in my mouth, sweet as honey. And as soon as I was eaten it, so it tasted good at the beginning stages, but once it digested in its system, it became what? I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. See that? So when he digested it, he let everything sink in. Things started to become bitter. Your life starts to change, right? Physical ailments start to come in. Things don't go as sweet as it was when you had that taste of that honey. Again, all of this is parabolic. And that's what's in the cup of that's synonymous again with the cup of the Lord. That represents your life changing from that sweet to that bitter. Now you losing your job, right? Now your wife hates you all of a sudden. You get into arguments with your kids. You lose your friendship with your family, right? All hell is breaking loose. You got demons on you. Demons trying to attack you in your sleep. Your life is starting to change. It's starting to get, it feels like you got certain brothers in the truth. And they even say, hey, the longer I'm in the truth, it feels like my life is starting to get worse and worse and worse. Hey, brother, well, we here to tell you that's how it's supposed to be going. Again, that's all in the cup. What you didn't know that was in there? You didn't know that your life would turn around in that cup? That's why it's important to know what's in the cup before you drink the cup. So when he said it was in my what? My belly bitter. Let's go to Ecclesiastes 1 and 18. Right? Let's get a precept on that bitter. Right? Let's go to Ecclesiastes 1 and 18. See what King Solomon said. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 1 and 18. It says, for in much wisdom, it's much grief. So into light, what you're going to come to find out in everything, a wise man once said, is pros and cons to everything in life. So the con is, yeah, you're getting wisdom, you're getting knowledge, understanding. You're able to teach the people. You're able to show people around you the good things. Everything's going well. You flourishing, you keeping the commandments. Wisdom is protecting you. But it's a con of wisdom. What is the con to wisdom, not your understanding? The truth. Things are gonna get better. With wisdom comes grief. So you're gonna be more you're gonna be out of it. Your mind is not gonna be there as when you first have received wisdom with joyfulness. You're gonna start to think, damn, the world really is ended. We don't have that much time left. You see the wars and rumors of wars. Your mind start to change. You start to get more sorrowful, more depressed. Again, you're being hated. And you have certain men, you have brothers, they go out and teach and they getting food thrown at them. But I know this brother, he told me he was out there teaching and Eve threw a damn phone at his nose and she poured wine on him. Right? Hey, do you think that brother was expecting that when he first came into the truth? And you got brothers, when they first come in, they don't even expect to be teachers. They just thinking they just thinking to keep the commandments and get the kingdom. They not thinking to be a leader over a congregation, right? To help out the nation of Israel, to be a role model, to be an evangelist. That's not their mind. They don't even know that. Then 2-3 years down the line, now the Lord set that up. You being persecuted. Again, you had a man, you got wine thrown at him. And the phone. And those phones, and those iPhones, man, they not light. Those stuff is made out of metal. Imagine a phone being thrown at your nose. Because you telling that person they got to repent. Hey, that'll make you be like, damn, man, what the hell? Right? It's what I signed up for. What you're going to come to find out, absolutely, this is what you signed up for. That's the better part. Right? That's that aftertaste, that after effect. Right? It says, I'm going to read that. This is Ecclesiastes 1 and 18. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. So the more knowledge, wisdom, understanding you get, that's the more sorrowful and depressed and sad you're going to be, man. I mean, just look at King Solomon. Right? Read the book of Ecclesiastes and tell me, was Solomon happy? Was he a man of joyfulness? No, Solomon said, I hated life in Ecclesiastes 2 and 17. Solomon, he didn't even want to be on the earth. And he's the wisest man. But yet he don't even want to be on earth. Hey, Solomon said to the point where he said everything is vain. There's nothing really worth living here but to fear God and keep his commandments. So with much wisdom, the deeper you get in this truth, the things starts to get harder. Your life starts to change around. That's all equipped in being in the life of a prophet. Right? Let's go to Sirach 21 and 12. Let's get another precept on that bitterness. Sirach chapter 21 and verse number 12. Right, this is the book of Sirach, chapter 21 and verse 12. It says, he that is not wise will not be taught, but there is a wisdom which multiplieth bitterness. I'm going to read that again. But there is a wisdom which multiplieth bitterness. What is that wisdom that multiplies bitterness? That's this truth, man. Right? That's the knowledge of the Most High. Again, this truth is not all fun and games. It's not what you think when you first come in. When time goes on, you start to find out what this truth is really about. And that's what the beginning stages of a life of a prophet. You start to find out what this thing, you start to find out you might die. And when I first came into the truth, I wasn't thinking about dying for the Most High. I'm just thinking you got to keep the commandments. We need our fringes. Okay, we have to have a beard. Okay, all praises. I'm not thinking about dying for the Most High. Then you start reading the scriptures, and then you're gonna have men die for the Lord. All that live godly and Hamashiach must suffer persecution. Your mind starts to change. A lot of brothers, they read that, they say, "Oh no, I don't know if I don't know if I could do this now." Well, hold on, brother. It's too late, brother. You already drink out of the cup. You got to deal with it now. Those people, the brothers and sisters that fall out of the truth, ultimately, they didn't want to finish drinking of that cup. And they wanted it for the good part of it, for the honey part. But when it was time for things to get bitter, they spit it out. They spit that cup and they spit out that drink. They didn't digest it all. Right? All of that is what? Equipped in the life of a prophet. Right? Let's go to the book of, actually, let me read that again. It says, but there is a wisdom which multiplieth bitterness. Right? Again, that's all linking up with what we just read in John the 10th chapter, in Ezekiel the 3rd chapter, 2nd Ezra the 14th chapter, Matthew the 20th chapter. It's all a part of that cup and what's in that cup. So what's in that cup? Yeah, it's good things in that cup. It's sweet things in there, but it's also woe. Your wife might die your wife being dead might be in that cup. Your children might die. That's all in that cup. Your grandma, persecution, affliction, turmoil. And you might lose your hand. That's all in that cup. Hey, are you going to drink of it? Again, in order to get to the kingdom, you have to drink of that cup. In order to please the Most High, you're going to have to drink of that cup. In order to pay back the Lord everything that he has done for you, you have to drink that cup. In order to put yourself in the life of a prophet, you have to drink of that cup. What are you going to do, man? Right? Like the brother Saul said, one big cup for real. Yeah. Hey, this cup is real, man. This cup is no joke. It's not what people think it is. That's why when you hear brothers and sisters say this truth is not a game, hey, this truth is not a game, man. This is your life now. This is what you signed up for. We should kind of come to find out a lot of brothers and sisters, they truly didn't know what they signed up for. Let's go to Luke, right? Let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 14. Right? Let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 14. One of the steps of before you drink of that cup, you have to know what's in that cup. No man, if somebody hands you a cup and tell you to drink of it, and you're not just you're gonna look in the cup before you drink it. You're gonna ask, what is this? You're not just gonna pick up the cup and drink it and say, here. Then you coughing it up. You're like, what was that? No man physically is in his right mind is gonna ask what's in the cup after he drink it. Now you're gonna ask what's in there beforehand. That's literally all synonymous with you preparing and seeking what you're getting yourself into before you get into it. Right? Every brother didn't have that opportunity. Let's get that in Luke chapter 14. It's the book of Luke chapter 14 and verse number 28. Luke 14 and 28. For which of you intend to build a tower sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it. Right? No man that wants to build a tower, he's just gonna build it. No, he's gonna sit down first and say, well, how much does all of this cost? What things do I need so I can get ready to build this building? What's required, etc. Verse 29, lest happily after he laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that behold him began to mock. Because if that man don't finish that building, They gonna ask, what the hell did what the hell did you do? You telling me you wanted to build a building, you know how much it cost? Meaning what? That man didn't prepare. Verse 30, saying thus, this man began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king going to make war against another king, sitteth not down first and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him at that cometh against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth a ambassage and desired conditions of peace. Likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he hath, cannot be my disciple. And that's one of the requirements. The Lord told, only way you could be my disciple, you have to forsake everything. Right? That's literally what the Lord said before you even try to become a disciple. A lot of the brothers, you didn't know what was in that cup. Right? I'd even admit it. When I first came into the truth, I didn't know what was in the cup. I was just so thirsty. I picked up the cup and drank it. Now, as time progresses, you start to actually go through what's all in that cup. Now, if it wasn't for the Most High and me being weak, hey, I would give up. I would say, "Nah, man, I can't do this. This stuff too hard. I didn't know this truth. I ain't hear about that at first, right? You gotta lose. Nah, I don't know about all that. But all praises to the Most High through the Spirit. The Lord had me to endure that. Even though I didn't know, I didn't prepare, man. I'll be honest. When I came into the truth, I was just so thirsty for the kingdom. I said, how you get the kingdom of heaven? You got to do this? You got to drink of the cup? Where's the cup at? Drink it. But guess what? You got to deal with it now. That's what you signed up for. You can't turn back now. If you turn back on the Lord. You turning your back on the Most High, who created you, who blessed you with everything you have now. What type of man would you be? So before you even drink of that cup, you got to know what's in that cup. And that's what we going over now. What's in that cup is what? It's the truth. It's the feast days. It's the being around your Akim. If you a sister, it's being around the Aquathium, your sisters. Right? It's being on fire. It's teaching. It's watching the videos all night. It's reading. But on the flip side, another thing that's in that cup is affliction. Death is in that cup. Persecution. Turmoil. Again, death, man. You losing your legs is in that cup. You losing your arm is probably in that cup. And you might be blind. A Tobit was blind. When you read the book of Tobit, Tobit was blind for 8 years. And he was in the truth. You might be blind. That might be your lot, is to be blind. And see if you still going to trust in the Most High. All of that is in that cup. You having your car flipped over 17 times on the highway. Again, your broken arm. All of that is in that cup. Are you still going to drink it? It's up to you. But even before you drink of that cup, you got to be sincere. The Lord is not going to let a wicked man or a wicked woman drink of that cup of a prophet. I mean, it's not happening. The Lord is not going to let a slothful man, the Lord is not even going to inform you about the cup. If you're not sincere, if you're not clean, if you haven't repented, if you still got stains on your garment, you really think the Most High going to let you get yourself into that? No. You're not even ready for it. So one of the first things you have to do before you even drink of that cup, you have to repent. Be sincere. Clean up, man. Get on fire. Let's go to Isaiah 1:16. Right? Let's go to the book of Isaiah, chapter 1:16. Right? It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 1:16. It says, wash you, make you clean, put away the evil of your doings before my eyes. Cease to do evil. So one of the only way you're going to drink of that cup You got to cease to do evil. You got to repent. You gotta lay aside that sin that's easily besetting you. Whatever sin it is, lust, fornication, slothfulness, adultery, whatever it is, weed smoking, cigarettes, you gotta put that stuff to the side. Because if not, the Lord not gonna have you drink of that cup. And if you don't drink of that cup, you can't say you're a prophet, man. If you don't drink of that cup, ultimately you can't even get into the kingdom of heaven. Right? Let's go to Jeremiah. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 4 and 14. It's the book of Jeremiah chapter 4 and 14. O Jerusalem, wash thy heart from wickedness, that thou mayest be saved. How long shall thy vain thoughts lodge within thee? So you have to repent. Stop doing your old ways. You even have to put away them evil thoughts. You have to wash your mind from your wickedness. You have to change the way you used to think. You can't still be thinking how you was thinking in the world. Then try to drink of the cup. It's not going to work, man. This stuff you got to put away and repent. Make yourself clean. Make yourself presentable before the Most High. Then the Lord will see if you're worthy to drink of the cup. Then he's going to give you the cup. You're going to drink of the cup, and you're going to have to endure everything that's in there. Now, everybody's cup is different, right, from other people's cup. Ezekiel's cup that he had to drink of, it was different from that of the prophet Daniel, right? The cup that Esdras had to drink of, it was different from the cup that David had to drink of. And Yahweh's cup, it was different from the cup that Paul had to drink of. Paul didn't go through the same things Yahweh went through. Paul didn't get a crown of thorns placed upon his head, right? Paul didn't get crucified. Hey, Paul, his cup, he had to get his head chopped off by King Nero, right? He had to be stoned, right? He had to get beat up. That was Paul's cup. So every cup is different from every brother or sister. You want to keep that in mind. Now, let me bring this out in Psalms chapter 24. This is the book of Psalms chapter 24 and verse number 3. Who shall ascend into the hill of the holy? It's like it. Who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord? Or who shall stand in his holy place? He that hath clean hands and a pure heart, who have not lifted up his soul unto vanity, nor sworn deceitfully. Again, the only way you're going to drink of that cup, you have to have clean hands, a pure heart. You have to be sincere, man. The Most High has to set it up so where you're ordained to even drink of that. All right, let me get Hebrews 21 real fast. Well, Hebrews 12 and 1. All right, let's go to the book of Hebrews, chapter 12 and 1. It's the book of Hebrews, chapter 12 and verse number 1. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses. And all of the cloud of witnesses is everybody that's listed in Hebrews, the 11th chapter. Those are the great cloud of witnesses. It says, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which does so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. So again, you have to lay that sin to the side, man. Look at the bigger picture. Stop doing what feels good. Look at the kingdom. The things you have to go through in your future. Lay the sin aside, and you have to get yourself ready for the race. And that's a long race, man. It's a marathon. You have to get prepared before you run that marathon. You got to lay aside that sin. Lay aside that slothfulness. Lay aside the covetousness, the lying, the being lukewarm. Lay that aside so you can run the race, man. And ultimately drink of that cup. But with that, we want to give all honor and glory to the Most High Yahweh, by Shema Mashiach Kwamadak Yahushua. Lord willing, this video was edifying. Continue to read, pray, fast, and study. And most importantly, beseech the Heavenly Father for his mercy. Again, this will be a series. So the next upcoming series, we're going to go to everything that's listed in that cup and ultimately paint the picture of a life of a prophet. But with that, I want to say Kwam Yashala, Shalom.